So I wanted to touch on Seatin's video that he actually put out. It'll be yesterday whenever you see this, or depending on when you see this, it could not be the day that it came out. For me, it's today. I just wanted to kind of touch on it because I think it's a really important topic. He talks about how he's getting burnt out on the game, and he goes over some of the things that he doesn't like that the game is either doing at the moment, or things that need to be kind of changed or fixed. And a lot of it I completely agree on. I mean, I've seen already a thread on Reddit about it, and it seems like a lot of people in the thread seem to be very, adamant about, agreeing with a lot of the things that he says. And I think I can get behind that. I really do believe that he probably makes it worse on himself than most players because of how much he plays the game. Obviously, as a content creator, you want to try to be as on top of things as you possibly can. Like me personally, I try to take it as relaxed as I possibly can because I don't personally want to overdo it with the game, because I understand that if I burn myself out on this game, I'm not going to want to play it at all. And so a lot of the days I'll just do the bare minimum, and I think that is completely okay in a lot of situations. I think one of Seatin's biggest problems is that he has multiple accounts, and the only reason I bring that up is because he has done an account tour on his global account, and I don't remember exactly how much he said he spent on it, but he has spent several thousands of dollars on his global account. And he's been doing a lot of content recently on the JP version of the game. If they get their patch early for big, exciting characters and stuff like that come out, he'll switch over to a Korean version account that he plays on if the Korean patch drops earlier than the Japanese version does. And it seems like on those accounts he's got a good amount of gems, and he's spending money on those accounts, and he's buying cosmetics and stuff like that for those accounts and stuff like that. And that is just mind-boggling for me. I'm not saying that he's doing anything wrong. Obviously, it's very beneficial for him and for his numbers and everything like that on YouTube to actually get that sort of content out as quickly as possible. And I think that he genuinely enjoys playing the game and seeing that new content and stuff like that. But I honestly could not imagine running more than one account on this game. I know a couple of months ago, it's probably been about a year ago at this point, maybe not completely a year, maybe 6-7 months or so. But some of the other smaller content creators that I was familiar with, a lot of them were either switching over to Japanese version accounts, or they were just doing content on the Japanese version in general. And I was like, I would kind of like to do that because they're so far ahead, but at the same time, me keeping up with two different accounts and something like that, just it's not something that I'm willing to sort of commit to, and it's not something that I want to do, because running two different accounts where my resources are spread thinner than they need to be, I would much rather focus on one singular account. And I think Seatin would probably have a better time doing that if he was only using one account. But like I said, it's beneficial for him and the YouTube sort of scene to be able to do content on that earlier stuff. And I don't know. This is definitely a different kind of video. I'm not trying to just analyze Seatin's video or anything like that, but I do want to bring up some of the topics that he goes over about the game and sort of weigh in on it a little bit, because he goes over the double collab and how that has sort of been just a bad experience in general. He talks about how he had pretty bad luck on the ReZero collab summons and stuff like that. And I think honestly, if the game wasn't doing guaranteed banners right now, where you can guarantee yourself at least one copy of a unit by finishing a full rotation, I think it would be a lot worse, because there's a lot of players out there on regular banners back in the day, that they used to do a lot more often, where it wasn't hey, reach the 600 mark, you're guaranteed to pick one of the new characters on the banner, or if it's a festival 900 mark, whatever the case may be. If it was just a regular banner, there is no guarantee to get those characters, and the rates on the banners used to be a fair bit better, but at the same time, there's no guarantee at all, which means that you can just spend as much money on the game as you want, and there's absolutely no point which you're going to be okay, I get the unit here. you could just summon unlimitedly, and if your luck is that bad, then you're just never going to get the character, and it's super disappointing. That was the one time that happened to me, was on the Blue Demon Meliodas banner, and it made me like so disappointed, and so like it gave me such lack of motivation to play the game, and I was so upset at the fact that I could spend so many gems and stuff on the game and just get absolutely screwed. And I mean, that's obviously just part of the game. You can't do anything about that. Like, it is what it is. Like, you just really can't do much. But I completely understand where he's coming from. It's very discouraging to go and spend a whole bunch of summons on a banner and not get anything. And for his end, I would imagine that it's probably a little bit worse, because he's spending so much money on this game, like insane amounts of money. Like, he's buying, gems to summon on most of these banners. From what I've seen, I do watch a lot of his videos and stuff like that. It seems like a lot of the like regular sort of content that comes to the game, just like if it's not like Tower of Trials or something that he makes videos on or anything like that, he doesn't seem to really grind out a lot of other sort of things. I could be wrong on that, so don't take that as like absolute fact, but he's not grinding for as many of the regular gems and stuff like that are in the game as a lot of the free-to-play players and stuff like that are. He's spending actual money on this stuff, so it feels so much worse, and I can definitely attest to the fact that like you spend money on the game and you don't get what you want. It's even worse, and it makes you feel like you just wasted your money. And I think that's kind of how these gacha games are honestly designed. Like, it's supposed to be, hey, the rates are pretty bad, so you have to really watch what you're spending on the game. He definitely goes into a little bit about the like cosmetics and stuff like that. I think it's this topic right here that I was looking at. Just he's saying how whenever new characters come out and stuff like that, to make it to where they're viable and able to be used in PvP and stuff like that, you have to, obviously you got to pull multiple copies of them so that where their ult level is higher, so that way you get more CC. You've got to buy all of their cosmetics if they're a brand new character and they don't have shared cosmetics with anybody. You have to upgrade their cosmetics, which honestly, in the regular game, like, yeah, you can do hell demons and stuff like that, but unless you've just been saving up a lot of your upgrade materials and stuff like that, you're not gonna be able to max out these cosmetics very quickly at all, unless you're just spending money on the game to do, which he does. So that kind of goes back to like, he's spending so much on this game, it's ridiculous. I couldn't imagine like sinking that much into the game, which I know that there's bigger whales than he is. There's, I'm sure there's other players who they don't even make content on the game. They're just like, hey, I've got disposable income. I want to play this game. I want to get everything I can get out of it. And I'm sure that, I mean, at some point you have to realize that this game is going to end. And it's a little unsettling, because honestly, the way that the developers seem to be doing the game, it seems like it's going to go downhill faster than it needs to, because they can't seem to get a good grasp on what the community needs, and like they can't seem to make the community happy, and it's ultimately just going to drive players away from the game. People are going to stop playing the game. They're going to stop spending money on the game, which is ultimately going to force the game to shut down. So it's nobody's fault but the developers, unless they get a grasp on what the game needs to be, moving in the right direction, or some way to make the player base happy. Then it's really just going to hurt in the long run for them. And I mean, it wouldn't be hard to like extend the life of this game, give some back to the players. I'm sure people would be more willing to spend money on the game if they know that the company that makes it is willing to, actually make a good game and maintain it, so that way the players can have a good time. But yeah, honestly, I agree with him completely on this point right here. It is absolutely ridiculous at the point of like, we need so many materials, you need a ton of Super Awakening coins, and you actually get basically taxed on your Super Awakening levels if you don't have the right ultimate levels at this point. I mean, it's always pretty much been like that, but that is super disappointing to see sometimes. Like, it really does make a good bit of difference. I know that it's only like 250 or whatever the exact number is, I can't remember, to unlock a Super Awakening level if you don't have the ultimate, but saving those extra Super Awakening coins and stuff like that is a really nice thing to do, and it can help you push materials and stuff like that for the next unit. They do those like level 80 6-star banners every once in a while, where the unit's fully awakened, not super awakened, and they're already max level, which is really nice. Like, those do help out quite a bit, but Super Awakening is ridiculous. in its own right, because I feel like the one of the biggest reasons why I really liked playing this game in general to start with was the way that they handle pulling multiple characters and dupes of characters and stuff like that, and you can use those dupes as coins in the coin shop, which is a really fun and interesting mechanic that a lot of games don't have. And I feel like the coin shop at this point has become very like outdated, because they either need to increase the rates to make it to where you have more coins and are willing to buy things out of the coin shop, or they just need to make the coin shop better or make Super Awakening easier, so that way you actually, you know, you don't feel pressured to just spend stuff on Super Awakening, because there's tons of people, even in like newer content and stuff like that. When I went over the new like Tower of Trials changes, there's a specific level where it's very, very beneficial to where you're going to need red Melascula, and a lot of people have commented on that and they're like, oh, like that's great, but I don't have red Melascula. And that just goes to show that even though red Melascula is a coin shop unit, the fact that she's a commandment makes it to where she's 10 platinum coins if she's not on sale, and if she is on sale that week, it's 7 platinum coins, and 7 platinum coins goes really like a really long way as far as like Super Awakening goes. So a lot of players are not willing to spend that on a character that they're really gonna like not use a whole lot, like a niche character, like, oh, like, you know, sorry, you don't have this character, but you got to go buy it out of the coin shop. It's nice that the character's in the coin shop and you don't have to summon on a banner and hope that you pull it. But at the same time, you know, I think a lot more players would be like, hey, why don't I just use those coins on a character that I already have and get them maxed out and actually, you know, use a character that I want to use or that's actually good, instead of buying some, you know, niche character that I need for one specific thing. I just think there's a really weird imbalance with the coin shop and the Super Awakening system. It's really dumb. They need to honestly look at that and reassess the situation there. Banner rates are obviously terrible. He goes over the banner rates and the additional units that are on a lot of the banners and stuff like that. This is nothing new. It's honestly been like this for a while, and it needs to change. It really does, because fucking 0.25 on a banner like this, the ReZero collab banner that just came out, 4 additional characters on one banner is crazy. People were super upset when they did that, like the mashup banner with the Valentine's Derriere and Nanashi and whoever else was on it. I can't remember exactly. I think it was Green Easton and some other characters. All of those characters, it was 6 SSRs mashed into one banner. And I know one of the biggest things that people were upset about was the fact that, you know, that could have stretched out and gave people a lot more time to save and everything like that. But, you know, they're trying to catch up with whatever, and that's just a whole different argument. But all of those characters mashed up into one banner, if you want one copy of each of those characters, it's a huge investment. It's just ridiculous, and at the drop rate that most of the characters are at, it's almost asking too much. It's like, you know, nobody's gonna have the disposable gems unless they're just spending money on the game to be able to try to get those characters. And I understand the argument of like, hey, free-to-play players shouldn't be summoning on every single banner. I think that's true. A lot of the times, if a banner is a skip banner, like if the character's absolute, you know, ass, then I mean, there's no point in, you know, summoning on it. But, you know, some people do like those, you know, sort of bad characters. Like maybe they just like that character in general. You know, some people play this game because it's a 7 Deadly Sins game and they like that character. I can completely understand that. I have a friend who really likes Zaratros, and he I can't remember the other character that he really likes, but he wanted Zaratros for a really long time and he couldn't get him, and he wanted to summon. He did summon on the banner for him, even though it was definitely not the smartest decision. But, you know, characters want what they want, and I definitely think that you should be able to summon for what you want. But it's just the game puts you in such a bad situation. He goes over the fact that the PvP shop is really bad. I honestly don't play geared PvP basically at all. The only time I do is when I'm just like, okay, like I kind of want to like do a showcase and I want to test out this new unit or whatever. I've already got, you know, gear made up for them, or they're really good PvE characters that also happen to be good in PvP, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make a PV like a UR gear set for them anyway, so I might as well try them out in PvP. That's the only time I play geared PvP. Geared PvP is just absolute balls. Like, it's terrible as far as I'm concerned. Like, the fact that you can be in gold and go against people who literally have like 260k to like way higher than that CC, and it's only going to get worse when level 90 comes out. I'm sure even in gold there's going to be people who hit almost like 300,000 CC, which is absolute ridiculous. You should not, like, there should be some sort of limit on that. If your CC hits a certain amount, like, they should either bump you up or make you go against players who are a little bit more like on your level, instead of people who are like, hey, I just unlocked geared PvP. I remember the first time I unlocked geared PvP, you have to get to like gold or platinum, I can't remember, in ungeared before you even unlock geared. But I was like, you know, when the game was still relatively new, I was like, hey, I just unlocked geared PvP. Like, that sounds kind of cool. I'll do that. And you go into it and it's just people who have like completely like maxed out gear, ridiculous like levels. They're just way better than you, and you're just like, okay, well, that was a terrible experience. I really don't want to deal with that anymore. So I feel like a lot of players who just want to like casually enjoy PvP, they just play ungeared, you know? Like, I mean, there's people who just forfeit their matches for their dailies because PvP is either, you know, very meta driven and they don't have the meta characters and they just don't feel up to it, or, you know, it's completely out of hand sometimes. So honestly, PvP in general just needs maybe a little bit of a look-see and maybe a tweak here and there. But I can definitely agree the PvP shop itself doesn't really have anything that I'm super interested in. Like, I buy the anvils out of it if I have some coins left over, but other than that, I don't buy anything out of the PvP shop. It's just there's not enough there, and there's not enough incentive for me to play geared PvP for me to even try to get coins to buy stuff out of that shop. Honestly, if I was going to spend time doing something, which I already kind of do every now and then, it's trying to stay at a point in Brawl, of all things, so that way I can get around, I think it's 2,000 coins is the highest you can get without being like one of the top players in Brawl. I try to stay within that range so I can buy like the cosmetic upgrades and the awakening stones and the engraving stones and stuff like that out of the Brawl shop. The Brawl shop is fantastic to me compared to the PvP shop. It's ridiculous how much like difference there is. It's crazy that I prefer a game mode where I can literally let the bot play and I can skip the match and just get my results. And I don't even have to play it. I would rather do that than play in geared PvP and actually use my units, which is saying a lot. He goes on to say that the anvils and super awakening coins are really boring. I completely agree with that. The fact that they sort of have it set up to where the anvil dungeon is like an hour and you have unlimited time, and I've already talked about the super awakening dungeon being really dumb. I don't like the way that it's set up at all. But he was talking about the anvil dungeon more than anything, saying that he used to just watch TV shows and just let it kind of farm and do its thing. And it is kind of like, the game does have a decent like farming sort of mechanic to it. Like, that's even when you first started the game, like when I started, which was when Global launched, it was kind of a big thing, like, hey, you may want to, you know, overnight farm for certain materials and stuff like that to get your, you know, account ready to do this or do that. And honestly, farming is just kind of one of those things where it's become the norm almost, so I don't really complain about too much of the anvil stuff. But I can completely agree. Like, he talks about the Belmas raid and how it's like you get barely anything out of it. And he was saying that it would be a lot more beneficial if you could just play like maybe once a week and get a ton more rewards, so that way you're not just having to grind like so much throughout the week and get almost nothing for it. Because if you know, it just makes more work for you, and it seems like you're not getting a whole lot out of it. I completely agree with that sentiment. I honestly think if they did more stuff where it was like, hey, like, you don't have to do this every single day, it would be a lot better. Because honestly, the more things that they add for you to do daily and to stay on top of, it just makes the game like tedious to play. Like, some days I just want to get on here and do my dailies and get off of this game. Like, there's days where I'm like, hey, I don't feel like playing this right now. I don't want to play this. I'm just going to do my dailies. I'm going to get off. I'm going to enjoy my day, play other games, do whatever I want to do, because it's just, there's a lot to do in this game per day. I feel like it takes over an hour for me to do my dailies and stuff like that most of the time, and that's with me using skip tickets. Although, like, I'm not like speed running it, like I'm not doing it absolutely as fast as I possibly could, but it's for me, it's a mobile game. It's something that I'm, just gonna hop on and want to play here and there or do whatever. And there are times where like there's a lot of content and I'm like, hey, like this is super cool, I want to play the game a lot right now. Or there's times where there's not a lot of content and I'm like, damn, I wish I had something to do, I would love to play the game right now. But there's just like nothing for me to work on or do, or just in general. And that does suck sometimes, where we really need content in certain areas. I feel like they need to do a better job of spreading content out and making it to where there are things to do, instead of us having a literal dead week this week. Like, they didn't add anything at all. And I mean, sure, we have a final boss going on right now, but this final boss is so easy. I literally have farmed all of the shops and stuff like that for it. I've done the Tower of Trials and everything like that. And I mean, I think that's to be expected from like people who have been playing the game for a while. If you're a veteran player and you've been playing for a long time and you've got a lot of like gear and stuff like that on your teams, I don't think it's unheard of for you to be able to finish a lot of this kind of content within the first couple of days. I know that a lot of newer players are going to be getting into the game and they want the content to be accessible to those players, and I completely understand that. But they need to be able to spread content out and make it to where you're not gonna, I don't know, they just need to do better with that kind of thing. It's really hard to like put everything into words. I'm not a game developer. I don't know how they could do it specifically. I can't give them ideas here, but it feels bad the way it is. So they need to look at it and try to find a way to make it more fun for the players. He goes on. He talks about a lot of the content being too easy, which I kind of touched on just there, saying that a lot of the times veteran players don't have any sort of challenge. It's just a lot of easy stuff, and I can agree with that. There are a lot of times when like the content is very, very easy. I think that the Tower of Trials and stuff like that kind of takes care of that for me specifically. Like, I'm not like super try hard when it comes to like Tower of Trials and stuff, so I end up having a decent bit of difficulty with the last couple of levels most of the time. And if I end up having to run them like over and over and over again, and I absolutely like can't beat it, and it takes a miracle for me to win, it just becomes to the point where I'm like, all right, well, that was really dumb, I didn't like that. But at the same time, like if I lose here and there, like that's fine. Like, it shouldn't be like I'm guaranteed to win every single time. I understand that, but I don't know. Like, I think it's hard for them to sort of like make a decent balance. I think the nightmare like mode to the daily or the weekly challenge things that they've put in Fort Solgris at this point, I think that nightmare difficulty update was kind of like supposed to help with that, but that's only like one small little corner of the content that's in the game. He talks about how the final bosses at this point have become way too easy. I haven't been able to mess with, the final boss Gallon and Melascula, or the new one that just came out on JP or anything like that, because I don't play those versions. But he says that they're super easy. And I think that might be a byproduct of people complaining about the final boss Escanor and how it was super hard. But I honestly like final boss. I think it's a cool sort of like game mode. But at the same time, I'm not personally the kind of guy who wants to sit there and run something over and over and over and over again and forfeit out of like matches and have to rely on nothing but RNG to get perfect card draw and stuff like that just to maximize my points. Like, that's just not something that I'm really interested in. I'm more interested in just like PvE in general, just having fun playing the game, and just it not being super serious and stuff like that. Whereas, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of players who like going for high scores and stuff like that. Guild Boss seems to be something that's pretty popular with a lot of players, and they want to get high scores and stuff like that. And I can completely see where they're coming from. But for me, like, Guild Boss, good lord, like, I get 6,000 points to get all my rewards and I get out of there. I don't worry about it at that point. Like, it's just it just seems like it's not really my thing personally, but I can completely like see where some people like that. He talks a little bit about the new Arthur banner being good, and the fact that it's a step-up banner, which is really nice for a lot of players because it's not as much of an investment as a lot of the other banners are. He's a 0.5% pull rate, which is really nice. It's a huge improvement over what we've been having. I still think that there's a little bit of room for improvement there. I honestly think with the 3% rate, if there's going to be a new character like on the banner, like make it to where it's at least a 1% chance to pull new characters. Like if there was 2 characters on the banner, I could see it being a 0.5% for Arthur and someone else. But the fact that it's so low of a chance to get somebody, and then it's a low chance for them to like even pull the specific character when you do pull an SSR, it's crazy to me. Like people most of the time aren't summoning on those banners to get those other units. Like I'm sure sometimes people do, but even then, if it's a 1% chance out of 3 to get the new character, and then you still have a 2% chance to pull like the additional units or whatever, I think that sounds a lot more appealing personally. But I don't know, it is what it is, I guess. Like, I don't make the decisions around here. But he does go on to say that the new Arthur is kind of bad for players because although you're spending less to get him, he requires a whole new set of cosmetics and everything, because he's a new type of Arthur. And I can kind of agree with how they did this one because they've already done it with some characters, but it is really disappointing to see, like, hey, there's a new Arthur coming out. I already have a bunch of Arthur cosmetics. I already have them all maxed out. Like, this could be very beneficial. And then you learn, oh, hey, this is Excalibur Arthur, which would be like the equivalent to like Lost Vein Meliodas, where it's a completely new variant of the character who uses a specific weapon. So he's going to have a whole new set of outfits and stuff like that that you have to buy and invest in and everything like that. And I think I don't think that this is as big of a deal. Like, obviously it is kind of annoying that you have to get new cosmetics and everything like that for it, but the fact that the character is on a step up banner and you can, like, if it was a 600 banner and I had to go all the way to 600 to guarantee myself a copy of this unit, I would definitely say, like, this sucks. But with it being like a step up banner where I get the character in like 242 gems, and then I can go or like turn around and spend, you know, I think it would be about 200 gems or so, give or take, to get all of his cosmetics and everything like that whenever they come out for you know, gems instead of actual money. I mean, that's still going to be way less of an investment than going to 600 on a banner. And I mean, even then, like, I mean, I know most of the time you would want to pull extra copies of the character, etc., but that just depends on you. I personally, like, I see the need and the want to get extra copies of characters, but for me personally, I just go for one copy of the character, basically, if possible, most of the time, unless it's just like somebody that I'm really interested in, and I kind of just leave it at that, because I would much rather just have the character and be able to summon on newer banners and stuff like that to get new additional characters than for me to invest, like, you know, thousands of gems on one character just to make sure that that specific character does better with their ultimate move. Like, a lot of people really invested a ton into Escanor, and I can completely see where that's probably like a good investment, but for me, just having Escanor is good enough, and I'm not worried. Like, sure, it would be really nice for his ultimate to be able to, you know, one-shot 2 characters, but you know, just having the character is fine with me. Like, that, it's cool. I'd rather be able to buy, like, go in on the Escanor banner and then be able to turn around and go in on the Assault Mode Melee banner and get both of the characters than me just having 2 copies of Escanor per se. So it's just the way that I look at the game, kinda. Like, it's different than, I guess, some other players, but I don't know. Like, this, I think this isn't terrible. Like, you can get away with getting the cosmetics and the character for cheaper than a lot of the other stuff that we've been dealing with, because you have to go to either 600 or 900. But that's just me. I guess I'm looking at it on the bright side, kind of. It's still not great, but it is what it is. He's saying that he's going to cut back on spending. I definitely think that's a positive move. I think with as many players that look up to Seatin and they completely agree with, like, a lot of them, like, sort of like info and messages that he puts out there as far as the game is concerned, a lot of players are going to follow in his footsteps on this one, I feel like, and they're not going to want to support Netmarble if they're just making really bad decisions. And I completely agree with that. If you're not happy with, like, where your money is going, and you're not, you know, satisfied with, you know, spending money on the game and what you're getting out of it, don't do it. Like, it's, like I said earlier, this game will shut down at some point, and all of that money that you spend on the game, you're not even going to be able to, like, most of the likely you're not even going to be able to see what you spend it on. Like most of the time when these gacha games shut down, like you can't even open the app anymore. Like you click open and then it'll give you like an error message or tell you that the game's no longer in service or whatever the case, and it'll kick you out. Like you won't even be able to access your account more than likely. So it's not like this is not future proof or anything like that. This game is going to die at some point. And if you're not happy with spending money on it, knowing that, then I definitely recommend that you just cut back or even just don't spend in general. It feels better to me to be able to like grind out the stuff in the game and summon and get characters and play with them and stuff like that than it does for me to spend $40 on tickets or $80 on tickets and stuff like that. Like with the ReZero collab, I was like, wow, like these characters are really cool, like I want to buy their outfits. And then after tallying up how much money I had to spend to get the outfits that I bought, I was like, oh my god, like why do I buy that kind of stuff when in general, like I'm having a lot of fun with these units, but in the long run, these units are going to get power crept. They're going to get, thrown to the side at some point because there's going to be a bigger, better unit that comes out in the future. And I mean, sure, it's fun now, but is it really worth that investment? You really have to think about that kind of thing when you're playing a gacha game. So, Burnout in general is just huge. The game has been out for almost 2 years as far as the Japanese and Korean version of the game goes. It's I don't know exactly how far along, like how far behind we are for it, but it's definitely, it's been over a year at this point. Game came out in March of last year. It's like a couple of months after that now, so we're not quite to the 1.5 year anniversary yet, but I can definitely see where this game is taxing on players, and honestly, that's why I play the game the way I do. I take breaks from the game. Like if I there's not been a day yet where I've not done my my dailies unless I just completely missed it and I don't remember that. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm normally good about doing my dailies and stuff like that, but if I'm not feeling the game, I'm going to use my skip tickets to get through the dailies as fast as possible, and I'm going to get off the game, and I'm not going to worry about it. It's not something that I want to stress over. I try to be as relaxed about the whole thing as I possibly can. It just, don't feel obligated to play this game if you don't want to. Take a break. It's fine. Like, I mean, I know that there's a lot of FOMO or fear of missing out with a lot of these games where you're like, oh, like if I don't play, I'm not getting these materials that I can't use on this character that I'm not going to, whatever. I might miss a character that comes out and I'm not going to be able to use that character. Don't worry about it, dude. Like, it's fine. Like, I know that like the meta is super demanding and there are changes to the meta here and there, but honestly, if you've got the current meta, like, you're gonna be fine for a while, honestly. Like, unless there's just some huge character that comes out in the next like little bit, which the 2 year anniversary for JP might end up coming out with a decent character that's very meta relevant. You never know, but it's not worth stressing out over. It's just a video game. Like, try to take it with a grain of salt if you can. I understand a lot more people, everybody approaches the situation differently. You might have different feelings than I do, but I just, there's no, just, play something else for a little bit. Try to take your mind off of it. Come back at it with a different sort of attitude if you can. That's basically all you can do. Yeah. Don't spend money on the game if you aren't comfortable with it. He says that he doesn't want to, he's going to cut back on spending because he doesn't want to, support Netmarble and everything like that. I completely agree. If they aren't doing what you're happy with, don't do it. Don't spend money on it. It's fine. I mean, that's basically all it is. Once they see that people are spending less and less money on the game, hopefully they take a look at it and they say, okay, well, like, what do we need to change? Because, I mean, like I said, he's a pretty big figure in the community. A lot of people support him. A lot of people stand behind him. And I think the fact that he's vocal about this and he's coming out and saying, hey, this isn't working for me anymore, I think even if they don't look at it from like, hey, this one specific content creator is pretty unhappy with the game, if a lot more people follow in his footsteps and they're like, hey, this is bad, like, we want to take a look at it and we want to try to fix it or whatever, hopefully they see that backlash and they try to fix it, because I mean, the game's in a pretty tough spot. Like, people like this game. I love this game. It's really good. It's a fun gacha game. It's better than like 99% of the gacha games that I've ever played. But when it comes down to it, I mean, there's always something you can improve. There's always, things that need to be fixed. There's, things that need to be done differently to make sure that the players are happy. And if the players aren't happy, that's all that really matters. If the players aren't happy, they ain't going to play your game. So I don't know. this is a weird topic video and everything like that. It's probably a little bit different than what I normally do. I didn't mean to sort of just look at Seatin's video and kind of like commentate on it or anything like that, which I just think that, you know, he's doing a good job. Like, I'm sure even on the things that I disagree with that he does it with good intentions, and he does it because he likes the game and he wants to see it do well, and I can completely agree with that. I think that that's a really good look. I think that, you know, obviously, you know, I feel like players shouldn't take everything that he says at face value. You know, make your own opinions about it. Just because somebody says it doesn't mean you have to completely agree with it. But that's it. That's all I have to say. I don't really have anything else to go over. Obviously, the game is dead at the moment. I mean, not like dead, but like it's a dead week. There's not a whole lot of content and everything like that to go over. I'm sure this next week is going to end up having a decent bit of content and stuff like that. Hopefully, we do end up getting the level 90 raid or something like that. Something to kind of like work on or do whatever. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Feel free to subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And if you want to, I'll see you guys in the next video.